Chair Powell, Gina Smilik from the New York Times. Thank you for taking our questions. I wonder if you could talk a little bit. I know that you've got your internal review coming, but I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what you think happened with oversight at Silicon Valley Bank and whether this suggests that something about regulation and supervision needs to actually change going forward. And I wonder, how can the American people have confidence that there aren't other weaknesses out there in the banking system, given that this one got missed, as you noted?
So let me say what I think happened, and then I'll come to the questions around supervision. So at a basic level, Silicon Valley Bank management failed badly. They grew the bank very quickly. They exposed the bank to significant liquidity risk and interest rate risk, didn't hedge that risk. We now know that supervisors saw these risks and intervened. We know that the public saw all this. We know that SVB experienced an unprecedentedly rapid and massive bank run. So this is a very large group of connected depositors, concentrated group of connected depositors in a very, very fast run, faster than the historical record would suggest. So as for us, so for our part, we're doing a review of supervision and regulation. My only interest is that we identify what went wrong here. How did this happen is the question. What went wrong? Try to find that. We will find that. And then make an assessment of what are the right policies to put in place so that it doesn't happen again, and then implement those policies. It would be inappropriate for me at this stage to offer my views on what the answers might be. I simply can't do that. Vice Chair Barr is leading this, and I think he's testifying next week. So, but that will be up to him. So that's really where it is. The review is going to be thorough and transparent. It is clear to your last question. It's clear that we do need to strengthen supervision and regulation, and I assume that there will be recommendations coming out of the report, and I plan on supporting them and supporting their implementation.
And the final point, can we feel confident that these weaknesses don't exist elsewhere, given that they got missed at this bank?
These are not weaknesses that are at all broadly through the banking system. This was a bank that was an outlier in terms of both its percentage of uninsured deposits and in terms of its holdings of duration risk. And again, supervisors did get in there, and they were, as obviously, they were on this issue, but nonetheless, this still happened, and so that's really the nature of the review, is to discover that.
Michael McKee from Bloomberg Radio and Television. You've been very consistent in saying that the Fed would be raising interest rates and then holding them there for quite some time. Following today's decision, the markets have now priced in one more increase in May, and then every meeting the rest of this year, they're pricing in rate cuts. Are they getting this totally wrong from the Fed, or is there something different about the way you're looking at it, given that you're now thinking that moves might be appropriate as opposed to ongoing?
So we published an SEP today, as you will have seen, and it shows that basically participants expect relatively slow growth, gradual rebalancing of supply and demand in the labor market, with inflation moving down gradually. In that most likely case, if that happens, participants don't see rate cuts this year. They just don't. I would just say, as always, the path of the economy is uncertain, and policy is going to reflect what actually happens rather than what we write down in the SEP. But that's not our baseline expectation.
Well, if I could follow up and ask, as you look forward into the rest of the year here, are you saying that what you see and the 5.1% basically consensus is based on it will be sufficiently restrictive, or is it leavened by the idea of you don't know what's going to happen? In other words, what should people think about in terms of how the Fed thinks about how far it is from the terminal?
It's going to depend. Remember, we're looking, for purposes of our monetary policy tool, we're looking at what's happening among the banks and asking, is there going to be some tightening of credit conditions? And then we're thinking about that as effectively doing the same thing that rate hikes do. So in a way, that substitutes for rate hikes. So the key is we have to have policies that have got to be tight enough to bring inflation down to 2% over time. It doesn't all have to come from rate hikes. It can come from tighter credit conditions. So that we're looking at, and it's highly highly uncertain how long the situation will be sustained or how significant any of those effects would be. So we're just going to have to watch. In the meantime, and obviously at the end of the day, we will do enough to bring inflation down to 2%. No one should doubt that.
Rachel Siegel.
Market's turning red on no cuts.
Hi, Chair Powell. Rachel Siegel from the Washington Post. Thank you for taking our questions. I know we've talked a bit about how Silicon Valley Bank was unique to a certain sector of the economy, but there's also growing concern that there are financial stability risks from the commercial real estate market and loans that will begin to roll over later this year and next, and that smaller regional banks also disproportionately hold those loans. Is there a risk that could mimic the kind of what we saw with SVB to banks that disproportionately are focused in commercial real estate?
So, we've well aware of the concentrations people have in commercial real estate. I really don't think it's comparable to this. The banking system is strong. It is sound. It is resilient. It's well capitalized, and I really don't see that as at all analogous to this.
Another question: would you be open to an independent investigation separate from the Fed's probe?
I welcome. It's 100% certainty that there will be independent investigations and outside investigations and all that. So we welcome when a bank fails their investigations, and of course we welcome that.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Edward Lawrence from Fox Business. Inflation has been rather sticky, so do you need help from the fiscal side to get inflation down faster?
We don't assume that. So we don't give advice to the fiscal authorities, and we assume that we take fiscal policy as it comes to our front door, stick it in our model along with a million other things, and we have responsibility for price stability. The Federal Reserve has responsibility for that, and nothing is going to change that. So we will get inflation down to 2% in time.
And if I could follow on that, but they're working, the spending that's happened is working against what you were doing, right? So it's prolonging inflation?
You have to look at the impulse from spending, because spending was, of course, tremendously high during the pandemic. And then as the pandemic programs rolled off, spending actually came down. So the sort of fiscal impulse is actually not what's driving inflation right now. It was at the beginning, perhaps part of what was driving inflation, but that's not really the story now.
Let's go to Neil Irwin.
Hi, Chair Powell. Neil Irwin with Axios. Two questions about aspects of the government's response on Silicon Valley Bank 2 weekends ago. First, why is this new bank funding facility done under emergency?
Hello guys, thank you so much for watching, and guys, I'll keep updating more news. So guys, this is a long story. So you see Bitcoin, guys, when this guy is talking, Bitcoin is going down. So guys, right now we see we break 28,000. We are around 27,900. So guys, I hope in the next few minutes we are going, Bitcoin will go to come back strong, and guys, yeah, we are going to pump from current price to here, which is here was 28,800. So we are likely to come back today evening. So guys, thank you. This is the long story, guys. Even if you
C13 authority as opposed to expansion of the discount window, changing the terms of the discount window that's been around a long time. And second, can you just